Unlike the Manohar poem, this poem is a critical commentary on religion itself, but also gives us a sense of what Kolatkar means by religion in that way. So, let's read the poem again. The roof comes down on Maruti's head. Nobody seems to mind. So, on the god Maruti, the roof has come down. It's collapsed there, and it's a inversion of anything Maruti stands for. Maruti, who is supposed to lift mountains with his hands and like take it all across, the roof has come down on his head, and nobody seems to mind. Such is the state of affairs here, that the temple is actually come down. The god is still there, and on his head this has come down. Least of all Maruti himself, maybe he likes a temple better this way. Maybe he likes a temple better this way. Probably, what else can you think about? And then he generally seems to be sad. And one of the things that I think Rajiv Patke tells us is that one can see how funny sad can be. And his Kolatkar's sadness comes from many questions that we have been discussing over the last few lectures. Is that where is this idea of religion coming from, where we do not pay attention to the gods themselves? The temple has collapsed. We don't care about it. Also, Maruti probably does not care, and Maruti probably doesn't have an option here in that sense. A mongrel bitch has found a place for herself, her puppies, in the heart of ruin. He calls the temple the heart of ruin. That this is the heart of the ruin. So, in that sense, also, Maruti's temple, one of the showpieces of Khandova, of Jejuri, is the heart of the ruin itself. The entire ruins that are there in Jejuri, this is the heart of the ruin. And also the mongrel bitch has found a place in the heart of the ruin, that is inside the temple, because the roof has caved in. Maybe she also likes the temple better this way, because she can then reside, because people have not come here, deserted it and everything. So that's why she also likes it that way. The bitch looks at you guardedly past a doorway cluttered with broken tiles. The pariah puppies stumble over her. Maybe they like a temple better this way. Other places, probably they are not allowed. They can't find space inside. And probably that's why they also like the temple better this way. A black-eared puppy has gone a little too far. A tile clicks under its foot. It's enough to strike terror in the hearts of a dung beetle and send him running for cover to the safety of the broken collection box. So it's not only that the family of the dog is there with the puppies, and it's a very precarious place, right? Because the tiles are all cracked, the tiles are all scattered across, and if you are putting your feet on it, it makes a noise so that you will know. And that's what happens when the poet comes in, because the poet also comes inside to have a look at it, and then that's why the bitch does not like it, looks at you guardedly, because it's almost providing a safety and secure atmosphere for them, because the tiles will make a noise and you'll know that no one is intruding your space, because the space is the space of Maruti, the dogs, and then we also know that there is a dung beetle. So we have these three occupants of the temple itself, and the poet is a invader. So at this point we have these four people inside this temple, and maybe all of them like the temple in this way. And as he says, is nothing more a place of worship. This place is nothing less than a house of God. That no more this is a place of worship, but this is no less a house of God because it houses everyone, from gods to animals and humans. Everyone is welcome here, everyone stays here, inanimate objects as well as animate human beings and animals, all of them are under this crushed house itself, crushed house of God itself. That's why it's probably not a place of worship. So he distinguishes from the institutionalization towards the broader ideas of what religion is. That's why it's a house of God. That God probably does not discriminate among people or among animals themselves. God does not discriminate that, like, okay, the dog cannot come inside or a dung beetle cannot stay inside the temple itself. All of them can be there, and that's probably why Maruti likes a temple better this way. Because though other temples are there, bigger temples are there, they're probably not inclusive. Everyone is rendered outside of this temple. This outside inside, again, the binary that we thought and have discussed from the poem Bus itself comes in again, is reprised again here in this poem. And you can see Kolatkar playing on this idea and offering his own vision of religion itself. That the house of God is an inclusive space. It's not like how religion has made it to be. It's a place which is highly hierarchical, demarcated, and he makes, he pokes fun at this. He pokes hole into that entire argument, and he tells us of a very wonderful space here, that because probably the guardians of religion have left it alone, and this is all that has been possible to prosper them, because everyone has left it as a ruin, right? So therefore the institution has left it, so there is no institutional guardianship around this ruin. So gods, animals, inanimate object, all can live here. So the dung beetle, the puppies, and everyone is here. So that's why he outlines that there is a pariah puppy also who's able to live here, a mongrel bitch, and everyone is able to make this their own space. And he says that even the broken collection box, which never get a chance to out of the from the under the crushing weight of the roof beam. So all of this makes it a house of God. A serious reflection on religion itself, and he offers both views here. The first view is what religion looks like if you're looking at it from the other end of the spectrum, and also what should be religion. He offers both ways of thinking about religion. If you are looking at it from the other end of the spectrum, then many of the things will look like hypocrisy itself. That, like, if you are, and uh, this is what is remarked in the first couple of lines, that if you worship Maruti, this roof has broken down, and no one seems to care about it. But then, if you think about religion as the universal space of uh, shelter, providing shelter and coming together and thinking of brotherhoods and thinking of animals as also living with us, practice of co-living, then this is what religion is. Uh, and even small poems like Chaitanya, he provides us with those exquisite commentary on religion itself. Sweet as grapes are the stones of Jejuri, said Chaitanya. He popped a stone in his mouth and spat out gods. That, like, everywhere you will see a god. Like we have our traditions where like each stone is also like done some puja to, and it becomes a god. He says that the land of Jejuri is very fertile because you see a lot of gods that have flowered and flourished here, but they are not being taken care of. So whose responsibility is that then? So those are the kind of questions that he is interested in asking. He is looking at it, and you can see that someone who is out on an amble, he's ambling around, he's walking around slowly and looking and surveying at all these places and thinking about both grand questions as well as ordinary acts itself, ordinary people who inhabit those spaces, great gods as well as ordinariness. That's why a Maruti is juxtaposed with a pariah poppy and a dung beetle. All of them are there, and that's why Maruti does not mind also. So he seems to be interested in those juxtapositions. And that juxtaposition becomes far more prominent in the towards the end of the collection. One of the last poems is called Between Jejuri and the Railway Station. This is when he is about to return to return from Jejuri itself. And as we remember, he came by bus. He's now returning by rail by the train. And then there are extended poems also, like there are a host of few poems which also talk about the railway station itself. Railway station, the station master, what they symbolize, this symbol of modernity and tradition, right? If Jejuri is Jejuri is standing for tradition, railway station stands for modernity, and between them, he is standing still like a needle that has struck a perfect balance between equal scales with nothing left to add or shed. As I said, the balance is also a reminder of many other balances that he is able to find, that between seriousness and humor, between sad and funny, and the dry humor, and this his whimsical his whimsical observations, which are quite accurate. So you see a series of juxtapositions which are very difficult to manage, and he's trying to do that. And if you look at the poem again, and we'll look at the structure of the poem also. Let's read the poem first. He's going towards the railway station. He's moved about the ruins, the temple town itself. You leave the little temple town with its 63 priests inside 63 houses huddled at the foot of the hill, with its 300 pillars and 500 steps and 18 arches. You can see the detailing that one might see, and again, as I was just saying before some time, the whimsical observation that like he seems to focus on very he seems to focus on very ordinary things which are normally not observed, but here he is like focused on those details itself. So that's why you have 63 houses, 63 priests, each having their house, and at the foot of the hill with its 300 pillars, 500 steps, and 18 arches. That like the entire thing is 300 pillars, 500 steps, and 18 arches. He's telling us of these details as someone who's not really a believer. And that's why in the initial lectures on Kolatkar I said it's very easy to dismiss that this is an account by a non-believer, but it's not true that he's a non-believer in that sense, in the way that he thinks about in the temple town. You see that he's paid attention to everything. paid attention enough to critique it, paid attention enough to be empathetic about it, paid attention enough to think through it also. You pass the 64th house of the temple dancer. As I said, he also pays attention not only to people who are at the center of it, like temples, the priests, and everyone. He also pays attention to the temple priest's son. He pays attention to gods who have mushroomed around Jejuri. He also pays attention to the old woman who's bound to live there, is looking for desperately some earning, and he also pays attention to the temple dancer. She is the 64th house. The 63 houses are all together with 63 priests and 63 houses. It's in one line itself also. You can see that both of them like being together in one line. And the 64th house comes after two lines. He could have mentioned the 64th immediately after the 63, right? But he knows that the 64th house is not exactly the temple priest's house, and the distance is a reminder of the thing that the priest's son would not never step inside and hopes he never will. Okay, so the temple dancer, we are told, owes her prosperity to another skill. We are probably talking about some kind of sexual exploitation here. That it's mentioned that the temple dancer's house is the 64th house, who owes her prosperity to another skill, a skill the priest's son would rather not talk about. So something that the priest's son has done in terms of sexual favors, or something that he has asked and gotten from her, and in turn has led to her prosperity. The priest's son would not talk about it. We have many scholarships on this idea of Devadasi tradition and the exploitation that has happened. A house, and we are told, and then the social critique is very trenchant here from Kolatkar, a house he has never stepped inside and hopes he never will. That the temple dancer's house is something that he does not want to step inside, and he hopes that he never has to in future also. That's why the distance is from here to here, both in terms of the spatial arrangement, and in between almost this line also is reflective of that distance, right? That 300 pillars, 500 steps, and 18 arches and all there. Then you pass the 64th house, and then you also pass by the ruin of the temple, but the resident bitch is nowhere around. We just read the poem on Heart of the Ruin. You pass by the ruin of the temple, but the resident bitch is not there. And again, whimsical, that what all details will go here, and you see that probably he's just looking at random things, but we also see a certain kind of design that is also there in terms of how he has like structured those whimsical observations into a poem itself. And what all, then we move around and we see, and Gorakshnath hair cutting saloon, then Mala's Kant cafe, and the flour mill. That's it, the end. You have left the town behind with a coconut in your hand and a priest's visiting card in your pocket and a few questions knocking your head. You stop halfway between Jejuri on one and the railway station on the other hand. You stop dead and stand like a needle in a trance, like a needle that has struck a perfect balance between equal scales with nothing left to add or shed. So we are told again, and you can see the distinction. The first one is about the temple and the traditional space, right? If we are thinking about the traditional space, we have the temple, the ruins, the priest's house, the temple dancer. All of this are reminders of the tradition itself. Then we come to the modern places, hair cutting saloon, cafe, the flour mill. You have representations of modernity, and that's it. You have left everything behind. There's a coconut, which is a reminder of tradition. You are given a coconut from the priest, from the temple, because you've done some puja offering, you have offered some money, and the priest's visiting card. You can see this is modernity itself. And this also is a reminder of what we had studied in terms of A.K. Ramanujan's idea of the context free and the context sensitive existing together in India, right? So you have a priest who's offering you a visiting card. A visiting card, again, remember the horse and two goats, the foreigner gives a visiting card, right? Here the priest is giving a visiting card. The priest is not supposed to, if you think about the context sensitive nature of our existence, priest has also adapted to forces of modernity, has a visiting card. And that's why you have a lot of questions, because you are stuck between two opposing, kind of seemingly opposing forces. That's why you are like a needle in a trance. You are standing like this, like a needle that has stuck perfect balance between equal scales with nothing left to add or shed. So you have reached, you have left the town behind. So the tradition, the temple town is behind, and you are going towards the railway station. You are on your way to the railway station. The end, the poem should have ended here, right? That, like, this is the end. But the poem does not end there. And what are we looking at then? What has stopped you in your tracks and taken your breath away is the sight of a dozen of cocks and hens in the field of jowar in a kind of harvest dance. The craziest you have ever seen, where 7 jump straight up and at least 4 times their height as 5 come down with grains in their beaks. Just like the poem on butterfly, one sees a reminder of the ordinary, which does not signify anything, no significance. From where we started our exploration of Kolatkar, this seems to be a perfect ending in that sense, because again, this does not have any significance, but they are awestruck by it. Awestruck because also this signifies life compared to the arches and the pillars and the modernity and the temple town itself, the tradition of the temple town. All, it's the temple nature of it, the stones, the arches, all its rigidities, orthodoxies. That's why the temple dancer has to be kept outside the perimeter within which the 63 priests live. All against those orthodoxies, this is what strikes him, that look, there are these cocks and hens who are doing a harvest dance like a butterfly. Immediately, in a moment, it will just get over. So 5 come down with a grain in their beak, at least 4 times they jump up. There is a random kind of a dance that is happening, and that is given in the, it's mimicked right in the page itself. And these kinds of experiments, as you see, are also reminiscent of the modern times, where people like E. Cummings and others uh, wrote these kinds of poems itself, right? The very visual kind of pictures made out of poems that are made. So up and down, up and down, up and down. So you can make a kind of a up and down, up and down, up, down, and up and down. And it's not exactly the same sequence. So to tell you of the random nature of the dance that is happening. So that's why you have different ways of, and there you stand forgetting how silly you must look, with a priest on your left shoulder as it were, and a station master on your right. Culminates with that kind of a balance the modernity has brought in, that you have a priest on your shoulder, left shoulder, and your station master on the right, because the station master signifies that idea of modernity, of travel. Uh, and this is the movement that we are shown. If you compare it, and if I show you, if you look at the poem itself from here, Nellekar tells us that this, in a very wonderful observation, that it looks like it mimics the pillar of a temple, the very ornamental pillars that adorn Indian temples. You look at it, and the section where it till the second stanza, it gives you an impression of a pillar itself. The way pillars are adorned, if you look at the scope, if you look at the structure of it, it narrows and then it expands, and you have all these rounds around it. Uh, and you compare that to this random dance sequence of the cocks and hens, and also a reminder that such random ordinariness exists alongside these grand narratives that we have in our lives. Thank you.